It is now my privilege to introduce our speaker, Jeff Strong. He is a remarkably accomplished individual whose contributions continue to help BYU Marriott in many ways. Jeff is the former global president and chief customer officer for Johnson & Johnson. He worked 29 years as an executive in the consumer packaged goods industry. I know he doesn't look that old. While attending BYU, Jeff was a starting pitcher on BYU's baseball team. After graduating from BYU in 1988, he began his career at Procter & Gamble and held positions of increasing responsibility there in customer development, marketing, and general management, working in the US and overseas. In 2016, Jeff retired and joined BYU Marriott, where he launched the highly successful and rapidly growing Marriott School Marketing Lab, a student-run marketing consulting organization. He also earned his MBA at the Kellogg School of Business at Northwestern University. Jeff and his wife, Sarah, have 5 children and 3 grandchildren and live in Midway, Utah. They enjoy family time, the outdoors, and doing volunteer work. They have been active supporters of BYU Marriott for many years, including service on the school's National Advisory Council for the past 8 years. This June, they will begin a new chapter of their lives and preside over the Arkansas-Bentonville mission. And by the way, the beautiful thing about this assignment is they've already lived in Bentonville twice. So a third time's the charm. We'll now hear from Jeff Strong, a wonderful man who I love dearly, who's really given so much of himself the last few years for you students, and he's such an appropriate and wonderful graduation speaker. Jeff Strong.
Before I begin, I just want to thank Nate and Derek and Alexa for sharing their gifts with us. Their words and music were powerful. Well, welcome to the 2018 graduates of the BYU Marriott School of Business and everyone who is here to love and support them. In particular, I want to acknowledge Dean Perry. He leads men and women of great capability and character who guide the institutions that bring us together today. I'm honored to be with them and with you to celebrate this special occasion. Class of 18, you did it. Congratulations. A graduation speaker should give graduates a glimpse into who they are, an anchor that allows them to stand firm in the storms of life. Now, doing this requires unbelievable intelligence, insight, and wisdom. Or if you don't have any of those, some answers from a really good questionnaire. For that reason, I conducted a survey to get a small glimpse into the heart, mind, and soul of the Marriott School class of 2018. Why did you choose BYU? Well, your 3 most common answers were kind of predictable, but only 3% of you actually admitted that you came for the creamery chocolate milk. And I'm not sure why, but literally none of you selected that you came to BYU because you didn't have the grades to get into the U. Why did you pick the Marriott School? There was a 3-way tie for the number 1 reason. It had the major I wanted. It was the best place to get a good job. That Marriott School name looks good on a resume. What shocked me is that because accountants have more fun was cited by only 2.6% of you. Truly a stunner. Bringing up the rear, exactly 0.0% of you chose the Marriott School for the great parking at the Tanner Building. What were your hopes and dreams when you arrived? Well, overwhelmingly, you said to get a great education, land a great job, make great friends, and do it in a faith-based environment. But you mentioned other reasons as well. One of my favorites was this one. I particularly like the ha. How did your hopes and dreams change while you were here? Well, you realized that you were more capable than you thought. You made big life decisions about love, faith, majors, friends, and how to begin the rest of your life. Many of you got married, and many of you didn't. And some of you experienced disappointments. I have a special place in my heart for you. In hindsight, my disappointments, especially the big ones, have been the most constructive experiences of my life. Own them, learn from them. Do not let them define or discourage you. Use that energy they stoke in you to forge ahead with greater wisdom and determination. Collectively, there's much to celebrate in what happened to you here. Believe it or not, 79% of you are extremely or very satisfied with your experience, and 94% of you met or exceeded your hopes and dreams. Well done to Dean Perry and his team and the faculty and staff, and a little nod to Tinder. Most of you came to BYU with nothing but your dreams and talents. You'll leave with far more than that. Here are some of what you said you'll be taking with you: a degree, new friends for life, a good job, extra pounds, a spouse, children, and 9% of you, unpaid parking tickets. And there were some great write-in answers too, including my personal favorite, intramural champ t-shirt, what really matters. Education is supposed to change us. So how did your education change you? Here is some of what you said. I have new and better priorities. My critical thinking, I have some. I'm more confident. I'm at peace with my choices. I'm more aware of my potential. I know who I am and what matters to me. Given this list, it seems to me that you received the best kind of education here, much more than just an academic one. What do you love most about BYU? Overwhelmingly, you said, the people. Well, just a few pixels in the picture of you, the class of 2018. Now that I've given you a much better understanding of yourselves, I would like to share 6 thoughts that I hope will be a little bread in your satchels for your journey forward from here. Number 1, faith. Fear is the most limiting force in life. Because of fear, far too often, we don't reach for the stars. We don't believe in ourselves, give ourselves completely to people and causes, express ourselves freely, try new and difficult things. We don't dream. We too often don't do any of these things because we're afraid of the disappointment and pain that we will feel if things don't work out. Faith is the antidote. It starts with wanting something enough to take a stand against fear. You choose faith. Faith that God created you to take on challenges, to make and overcome mistakes, to learn and grow, and achieve the righteous and necessary things you need to accomplish in life. Faith that the world is not too crazy for you to handle it. I am not suggesting that you won't encounter difficult and painful things, including failure. You will. But we far too often underestimate ourselves and feel fear. When it comes right down to it, some things can only be learned by doing them, and the learning is greatest right on the edge of where our knowledge ends and uncertainty begins. We have to step beyond the light into the darkness. Don't be afraid of this. Be willing for wise and good purposes to take that step. If you do, you will learn lessons reserved only for those who are willing to act without having all the answers. Number 2, in my spare time, I coach high school track, specifically hurdlers. One of my hurdlers was Jensen. His junior season, Jensen made a lot of progress, and by the end of the year, he was competitive, but nothing close to a champion. But he had a dream. He came to me and said, I want to stand on the medal podium in the state championships next year, and I'm willing to do everything I can to achieve that. Candidly, I thought it was a pretty audacious goal, but I was inspired by his desire and his humility, so we devised and began to implement a plan. The short version of his story is that he, fueled by the thought of standing on that podium, threw himself into his training with extraordinary determination. Along the way, there were many setbacks, races he lost, injuries he suffered, doubts that he faced, but he pressed forward and steady improvement came. In the last meet, of the year prior to state. He ran the best race of his life, securing the last qualifying spot for the state championships. There were 18 hurdlers who qualified for state. To stand on the podium, he needed to finish in the top 6. In the semifinals, he ran the 5th fastest qualifying time in the field of 18 and a personal best time by a wide margin. It was a spectacular performance for him, perfection. With this, he was one race and about 15 seconds away from realizing his dream. The finals came the next day. It was incredibly exciting. The starter pistol fired. I wish I could tell you that he made the podium that day. He didn't. For him, he had to run a perfect race like he had in the semifinals to stand on that podium. He came out of the starting blocks, made a minor mistake on one of the early hurdles, lost a bit of momentum, and never recovered. I've never had an athlete I've coached take defeat so hard. He was inconsolable. His grief seemed exactly proportionate to the size of his heart and the sacrifices that he made to chase his dream. But what he didn't realize at that moment is he had already won before he ever got in the starting blocks that day. He had already achieved something that no one except himself really thought he could do. He learned a lesson that was far more valuable than 100 medals, that he could accomplish extraordinary things if he believed in himself and went to work. Having dreams that ignite you is powerful. Dreams lift you above uncertainty, failure, disappointment, pain, and your personal weaknesses. And if a dream is achieved or shattered, it doesn't matter. You just create a new one and begin again. The whole point is to move forward with great purpose, fueled by a steady stream of exciting dreams, far more often chased with passion and missed than realized. The value is in the creation and in the chasing. Number 3, maps. 2 years ago, I took a group of young men on a 50-mile hike in the Uinta Mountains. We had maps and a GPS system to help us, but generally we just followed the trails. Along the way, we periodically chose to leave the trails and hike through the forest with no trail, mostly for adventure. In spite of having some great tools, we frequently got lost, which was very frustrating. When we were lost, all of our energy and strength was misdirected and wasted as we floundered. Metaphorically, the most common factor that I've seen that causes people to fall short of their potential or desires in business and in life is having inaccurate maps, maps that do not represent things as they really are. What do I mean by inaccurate maps in this context? Well, a few examples. Incorrectly diagnosing why a business is working or not working. Having only a superficial understanding of a customer's needs and wants and how to best meet them. Underestimating one's competitors. Setting goals that are far too easy or too difficult to achieve. Or perhaps most importantly, personal maps that tell people the reason that they failed was somebody else's fault. When your map is inaccurate, then all of your positive attributes actually work against you. A great sense of urgency just means that you get lost faster. A great sense of determination just means you go farther off track. Great enthusiasm means you're excited to be lost. When your map is accurate, your chances for success are obviously much better. So be skeptical about your maps. Be brutally honest with yourself. Be humble. And listen and learn to those who know the territory better than you. Go out of your way to validate your maps and change them when they are wrong. Number 4, sacrifice. There's very little that's worthwhile in life that doesn't require great sacrifice. Enthusiastically sacrifice the things that are not important. You know and will know what those things are. Knowing is usually not the issue. You must have the discipline to eliminate them from your life. But never sacrifice the things that do matter, people you love, principles you believe in, or your own health, vitality, or reputation. I believe that ultimately we become what we truly, deeply desire. The issue is that we sometimes mortgage what we desire in the long run for what we desire in the moment. And then we're surprised and disappointed when our real dreams, our long-term dreams, are not achieved. Make sure you sacrifice the right things for the right things. Number 5, greatness. Many years ago, we moved from Arkansas to Australia. One of our children, Zach, who was 9 at the time, was experiencing some challenges adjusting and fitting in to Arkansas. We were concerned that moving to a foreign country would amplify his challenges. The time came for the first day of school in Sydney, and we took Zach to meet his new teacher and classmates. Zach was nervous. We were nervous. But in a matter of moments, the challenging and complicated world of our 9-year-old son turned into a safe, happy, and supportive place because of the gift that this skilled and caring teacher had to see inside our son and unlock him. He got Zach. He saw his talents rather than his limitations. He made sure Zach's classmates, who could have easily rejected this new foreigner, also saw what made Zach great. In the coming months, we watched our young son find himself in the most unlikely of places, a school and a country where he actually didn't fit, all because of a gifted teacher that will never achieve any degree of fame or fortune. Zach, who's now a student here at BYU, many years removed from this important moment in his life, recently said of this teacher, and I quote, "There is a big difference between people who are supposed to care and those who actually do care. The difference in their impact on you is massive. He really did care. I knew he cared about me." Close quote. I see this same kind of greatness all the time in people you will never hear about, and people who will never be seen through the lens of our popular culture as great, but they are great. Regular people who make the world a better place in small but incredibly meaningful ways because they care and they take action. In all my time hanging out with industry titans, I never saw any of them do anything I considered greater than what Zach's teacher did for him that year. Anyone can be great. Number 6, you. Hopefully, or someday, you will die. Hopefully, it will be after a very long and abundant life, but that doesn't always happen. In the last 10 years of my career, 4 of my colleagues passed away before their time, leaving behind friends and loved ones and an avalanche of questions about why they were taken so young. Take care of yourself. Savor every minute of every day of your life. There is only one you. You are not immortal. You can and will wear down and out physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Get a good night's sleep, as many nights as you can. Drink plenty of water. Eat healthy and nutritious food. Exercise. Make sure you spend time to get away from work and re-energize and connect with the people and experiences that will fill you with love and energy. Invest in those relationships. They are what will give you happiness and meaning. Challenge and stretch your mind by learning new and difficult but worthwhile things that don't have anything to do with your job. Feed your soul with love, truth, light, and service, and love and lift others along the way. 30 years ago, I sat in the seats you sit in now. Well, sort of, because I actually missed graduation. But in spirit, I was here. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of actually sitting with you here on campus to see you in action, day by day, up close and personal. It has been a thrilling and eye-opening experience for me. I consider this place and my time with you to be sacred ground. I love this place and the possibilities it creates for all of us. I love who you are. I love what you stand for. I love what I know you'll do the next 30 years for your friends and your families, your communities, and your places of work. Because of you, I'm very optimistic about your future, but also about our future. Your lives will probably not turn out exactly how you are planning now, but you'll be happy, find meaning, and make a difference. So remember these 6 pieces of bread that I hope will give you some sustenance in your journey. Have faith, be a dreamer who acts, strive for less inaccurate maps, make the right sacrifices, be great, but remember what true greatness is, take care of yourselves and the people who need you, and will you please breathe some life into our accountants? For crying out loud, we're the #1 accounting school in the nation. Thank you.